It is another edition of Orange and Blue Today, Friday Countdown. That's right. Vegas for one, Andrew Mason. You and I have been to Vegas together, Mace. Always for business. Always business.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going to party with you in Vegas, though. I think it'd be fun.
I'm not really a Vegas partier though. I don't know. Vegas ain't my kind of town.
Name your kind of town. Is New Orleans more your town or New York City? Like, what's your town? Madison?
Seattle,
Okay.
San Francisco, San Diego,
San Diego. That's right.
even Pittsburgh's a cool town. Chicago is my favorite, really, of the big three cities. Chicago is my favorite.
Okay.
You know, but I can have a good time almost anywhere. I can have a good time in Cleveland.
Well, we have a good time on this show. It is Orange and Blue today. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason. Not one, not two, but three reasons why the Broncos should win in Week 18. It's all over Sports Talk, Mace. We're kind of Sports Talk here on YouTube, so let's talk about it. Should the Broncos win? What does that do to their draft stock? I'm on the side of win every time you can.
Yeah, I'm thinking more big picture. I would be okay if they lost this one. Look, you got a team in the Raiders that's also going to be in the quarterback market. So picking before them gives you a potential leg up. And yes, the Broncos could get whatever player they wanted. They can trade up. They can do whatever. But you don't want to have to trade up. And if you do want to trade, if you do have to trade up, you want to go with as few picks as possible. I mean, if you're picking 18th instead of 11th, and you want to go move up to get your quarterback, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. So, just given where the Broncos' needs are, and I know this isn't a popular opinion, I think losing on Sunday wouldn't be the worst thing.
I will say this. I'd like him to end the streak against the Raiders. They gave the Raiders their last loss in Oakland. That's in the record book forever and ever and ever. And since they've been to Vegas, and it's been a while, Mace, Broncos have not won. And I'm kind of sick of that. So I wouldn't mind in a season where you've ended streaks, Kansas City one specifically, I wouldn't mind seeing this streak end as well.
And I think there's a really good chance of that, not just the Broncos being 7-3 over the last 10 games, but also Josh Jacobs today officially being ruled out by the Raiders. And you know what kind of trouble Josh Jacobs has caused the Broncos over the years. So getting him out of the lineup, I think, tips the scales to the Broncos, and I think they ought to win this game, maybe by 10 points.
Yeah, maybe by 10, maybe even a little bit more. Maybe it's that air show we're thinking about. Another reason why to beat the Raiders, there is a slight culture tone set up. You know, we may disagree on this because has the culture already been set? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying they would get their ass kicked by the Raiders, but let's say there is a loss. Let's say it's, 35-10 or something like, that's maybe not the culture. I don't think they'll lay down, but I think this is a fascinating conversation to have because I'm like, okay, what are they going to be if they win? 18th? What are they going to be if they lose? 12th? Something like that?
They can go as late as 18, as high as 11.
11. Okay.
But 11 takes a lot of things happening. The Broncos are kind of somewhere in the middle as far as the strength of schedule tiebreaker goes. And I would say this. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think the culture is set regardless of whether you win or lose this game. You're talking about being 8-3 over the last 11 games or being 7-4 over the last 11 games. Neither one of those is bad, although if you're 7-4 over the last 11 games, that means that you lost to Houston, you lost to Detroit, you lost to New England, you lost to the Raiders. That means you lost 4 of your last 6 coming in, right? You get a win against the Raiders, then even after that 5-game winning streak, you went 500 the rest of the way, and that 500 includes a 3-game road swing, and it's very difficult to succeed on the road. So yeah, I get it, and seeing above 500, it does have meaning, I think, for the Broncos historically because it's been 6 straight losing seasons. But as far as building the culture and where Sean Payton's going with this, I don't believe Sunday's result really changes anything. I think that work has already been completed. The seeds have been planted. Now you want to watch them grow.
Now you watch him grow and you watch him move on. It's a kind of a Sean Payton type of mindset that I'm thinking of here, Mace, because like, okay, Payton PR, yeah, whatever. I don't really necessarily think that, although a win would look nice to the fans. Hey, you won without Russell Wilson, whatever. And then just kind of Payton's way, like he's going to trade up. He doesn't even care. How many picks did he give up for Adam Troutman? It was literally like half of his draft, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember they gave up like what, 4 picks, something for Troutman. I mean,
No,
it was
no.
a lot. It was the back half of his draft to move up for Adam Troutman, and Troutman, coming out of Dayton. What was it? You got it at prosportstransactions.com.
Yeah, it was the Broncos sent a 6th rounder to the
No, no,
Saints
no.
for
I mean,
Troutman, a
for when
7th rounder.
he drafted Troutman.
Oh,
Yeah, when he
okay,
drafted
yeah,
Troutman, he gave up half the draft, like the
yeah.
back half. And I think they moved up 40 spots, 60 spots. My
Hmm.
memory's hazy, Mace. But either way, like for fans out there that may say, like, you're gonna hurt your draft stock, it's Sean Payton. He's gonna move up anyway. Whether that's from 18 to 9 or from 11 to 9 or 11 to 5, whatever. It does make it easier. I get that. But
Yeah, but they don't have. The thing is, unless you're diving into next year's capital, which I think they'd be willing to do, um, it's still it's still not as easy. And if you're sitting there at 18, let's say you want to get to the top 5, perhaps in the
okay.
draft from 18. Are you doing that without significant player compensation, whether it's Justin Simmons or Pat Surtain? Probably not, right? And I would actually say right now where the Broncos are, they can't pick better than 11th. If they want to go to pick 1 or pick 2, I think the only way they're getting there is with Pat Surtain being a part of the trade.
Right. Yeah, that type of move would be significant. And then I think the Senior Bowl, we're 7 minutes in, Mason. I brought up the Senior Bowl. That's going to tell us a lot. I've seen people, and mock drafts are mock drafts. I think you and I, have an appreciation, but we also know what they are. I've had people send me mock drafts that are like, Penix is going to go in the top 5, and there's going to be 4 quarterbacks in the top 6, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm not saying that's impossible, because obviously it's not. But I think at the Senior Bowl, you and I are going to put boots on the ground, ears to the ground, nose to the grind. Either way, we will know.
Ears to the ground and nose to the grindstone.
And boots on the ground, too. So boots and
on the
ears
ground.
will be
Yeah.
flexible. But I think we're going to know after that week, is Penix top 10 or is he going to be around 14-ish? I think we'll know by that time.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at a mock draft right now. Again, kind of just going back on this.
Is it mock draft database? Is that where you go to see all the mocks?
I just go on Google News search and find it. So
Okay.
I'm on Pro Football Focus right now, and in Pro Football Focus's most recent mock draft, they have 4 quarterbacks going in the top 12, and the Broncos not picking till 14, and thus they have the Broncos taking Troy Franklin, the receiver from Oregon.
Okay. Still rather
sounds,
quarterback.
Sounds great, but I'm like, who's throwing in the ball? Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing. Not that Sean Payton's worried about like what you can sell to the fans and sell for ticket sales and all that, but if Jarrett Stidham is your projected week 1 starter and there isn't a young first-round quarterback in there behind him, in whom there's some hope, I don't know how that's going to sit with Broncos country. I really don't. I think there will be a decided lack of enthusiasm for next season. Even though I think they could probably have a perfectly cromulent 8 or 9 win season with Jarrett Stidham as quarterback. Basically hitting his marks, staying on schedule, running the scheme. There's another thing also about losing instead of winning. It's the schedule. There are 3 games that are determined by where you finish in the standings. For the Broncos, it's a home game against an AFC South team, a road game against an AFC East team and a road game against an NFC West team. So if the Broncos are in second place, they play the other second place teams. If they're in third place, they have to play the other third place teams. Now, it's kind of hazy in the NFC West and the AFC South. AFC South, you got Jacksonville, Houston, Indianapolis all fighting in that top three. In the NFC West, it's going to be the Rams and the Seahawks, right? There may not be much of a difference between the two. The game you're getting in the AFC East, it'll be either Miami or Buffalo if you finish second, or it's going to be the New York Jets if you finish third. There's maybe a big difference there, even with Aaron Rodgers coming back. I'd much rather see the Jets than see Buffalo or Miami.
Yeah, I think a lot of Broncos fans would there as well. So this is interesting debate, and I think looking long term is fine, and wanting to win now is fine. I'm honestly, I try not to, Mase, although I fail quite a bit. I try not to let the emotion get to me of the moment. But it's like, hey, they could win, and okay, yeah, I like winning. I like winning whenever you play. And certainly,
it's like better than losing, as
yes,
would say.
Yes. I mean, my God, how many times Jonathan Cooper talk about it this week, or what, after the game, and then this week in the locker room?
Talked about Sunday, talked about Thursday. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like these guys don't want to lose. So but if they do lose, I can see the benefit of that.
Yeah, they don't want to lose. They especially don't want to lose to the Raiders, who've beaten the Broncos 7 times in a row. Let's hear from Garrett Bowles. Let's step into the GB zone.
GB zone.
And hear what he says about the formerly Oakland, now Las Vegas Raiders.
It's the Raiders. Black, silver, more black and silver. The black hole. I think it goes back to when they were in the Coliseum, where I'm from. I'm from the Bay, so the Coliseum and, the hole there and, everything that goes with the Coliseum, it's a crap hole. It is. I mean, they'll say the same thing. I think that's why they moved to Vegas. Now they play, and then it's just the Raiders. But no, I appreciate them, with Max and, the effort he is and the phenomenal athlete he is and, the challenge that I have with him and, the friendship that we have. I'm grateful I get to go get a guy like that. It just makes me better. And, then they have a lot of pieces. It's a no-nonsense game now. It's chippy. People are dogging each other. But it's a fun game at the same time as it's a physical game, and you got to buckle your chin strap and put your mouthpiece in for sure.
Black, silver, black,
more black.
none more black, as they said in This Is Spinal Tap, right?
Right. Make it blacker. How black can it be? Okay,
well. None more black.
None more black. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
but
draft day movie quote: "I can't coach a team that doesn't have a future." What are we saying? The Broncos don't have a future here? What's going on?
If it's Jarrett Stidham, you mentioned it, right? What would the fans feel like if it's Jarrett Stidham with no rookie behind him, no rookie of significance behind him?
Yeah, I don't know if this fan base is going to be okay with Jarrett Stidham and Jameis Winston, and no young quarterback in there. And I don't know what the ceiling is there. That's the thing. But then again, Sean Payton's a guy who back in 2000 had Kerry Collins, got him off the scrap heap, and rode him all the way to an appearance in the Super Bowl when he was calling plays for the New York Giants under Jim Fossil, right? Sean Payton does believe that he can get the most out of a quarterback. And there's evidence to support that, not just the Drew Brees Hall of Fame numbers that he put up in New Orleans, but also the development of Tony Romo, with whom Sean Payton worked for 3 years in Dallas as the OC, the revival of Kerry Collins, even Jameis Winston, those first 7 games in 2021 when it looked like the Saints were bound for the playoffs, and he was a big reason why. So Sean Payton does have a lot of confidence in his ability to get the most out of a quarterback, but what is the most out of Jarrett Stidham? It's a fair question to ask.
Yeah, it's a fair question, and I don't think it's that exciting. I don't care if you're an Auburn fan or in Stidham's family. It's probably not as much as you need to compete for the hardware that this team wants to. Mm-hmm. And comparing coaches, I think we need to look at Antonio Pierce, because none of these teams are thinking 1, 2, 3 Cancun. You had that with the Chargers. Okay, the Chargers are they've been in Cancun mode for a month or whatever. Whenever Staley was
Except
fired,
for that Bills game, they
Bills
came
game.
out. That was a little bit of a dead cat bounce thing, but they came out
Right,
for that
right,
game.
right. They came out firing. Well, you're not going to get that against the Raiders. They're not thinking Cancun.
No.
They're not even thinking Vegas. They're thinking winning for Antonio Pierce. Will Mark Davis? I think this is part of the conversation, Mase. Will Mark Davis keep the interim coach because he should have done it with Bisaccia and he didn't, and now he's got Pierce and he might. And then on the flip side, it's like, how do the Broncos players respond for Sean Payton? He certainly has their ear, and if you want to be here, you want to perform for Sean Payton because he's going to get more of his guys, even if they're more Saints.
And you know what they do on Sunday, that's going to be part of the grades that are compiled a week or so after the season as well. So what they do in that game is going to matter in terms of the evaluation process. And that goes without saying. I mean, no player wants to put out bad film. So they're going to give an earnest effort. I expect the Broncos will give a strong effort, and I think they'll probably win this game. They get Cortland Sutton back. They get Baron Browning back. The Raiders aren't going to have Josh Jacobs, like I mentioned earlier. That plays into the Broncos' hands. I expect the Broncos winning this game. Now, the interesting question is the quarterback position. Who's better right now, Aiden O'Connell or Jarrett Stidham? I'd say they're probably basically equal to each other at this point.
And O'Connell has twice as many starts now? O'Connell's been starting for quite a long time this season for those Raiders. And then without Josh Jacobs, Zamir White's coming in, and Zamir White's been doing some really good things for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, a couple of weeks ago against KC, it was 22 for 145. But then last week it was 20 for 71 against the Colts, but also 5 for 35 as a receiver. So over 100 all-purpose yards in both games. Zamir White, I've always said, Mase, if you need a back, get you a Georgia back. So I've liked Zamir White since he came into the league. Now he's getting an opportunity without Jacobs.
Yeah, and they're leaning more on him now, and they kind of had to for a while. Though it is interesting on Aiden O'Connell here. Obviously, it was buoyed by that Chargers game where everything collapsed for LA in a 63-21 loss. But Aiden O'Connell came in and at one point had 4 touchdowns, 7 picks. His last 3 games, 6 touchdowns, 0 picks. Not a good completion percentage game against Kansas City on Christmas Day, but they rode the 2 takeaways to get the win there at Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah, he didn't do a whole lot.
He's on the upswing, and he's making an interesting case for himself. Now, that being said, if the Raiders move on from Antonio Pierce and they hire Jim Harbaugh, I'd say the chances are pretty good that J.J. McCarthy is going to be in silver and black by rookie minicamp in May, right?
Right.
And O'Connell then would become nothing more than a bridge. And I'll actually say this for the Raiders. If they're in the quarterback market and they are picking ahead of the Broncos, that the Broncos win this game, unless you've identified J.J. McCarthy as the guy, I don't think that's really going to hurt the Broncos. I think the Broncos, if they are picking from the McCarthy, Nix, Penix pool, it's Nix and Penix and not McCarthy.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. For Sean Payton, it's all about fit.
Yeah.
So
Penix and Nix are more advanced passers.
Mm-hmm.
I think J.J. McCarthy is right now.
Right.
I think that's the key thing. You do see traits in Nix and Penix that should translate. We haven't quite seen them totally with J.J. McCarthy at this point.
Right. Mr. Rocket asks, how likely do y'all think the Broncos will trade up and how far? Mase, right now, I can be crazy and say I could see him trading up to number 2. I could. It would take a lot. They have enough to do it. Everyone, how do they do it? It's going to be painful, everybody.
You're sacrificing a couple more years of first-round picks. You're probably sacrificing Pat Surtain.
Yeah. I would say moving inside the top 10 is very likely as we sit here on January 5th. I think it's very likely they move into the top 10 for a quarterback. Maybe that's 9, whatever, but I think they're moving up.
Yeah. And if they move up to 9, who do you think that quarterback is?
Hopefully Penix. I want Jaden Daniels still. I won't let that one go. I want Jaden Daniels.
But I don't think he's getting out of the top 4 at this point. I think I've said 5. I think you probably have to get to 4 for
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. So that's going to be Penix. So you move up, but again, it might be 4 quarterbacks in the top 5.
Yeah. Well, if Penix passes the injury, the medicals at the combine,
Mm-hmm.
that changes everything. Because if he is cleared medically and there isn't any fear about the 2 shoulder injuries and the 2 ACL injuries, then talent wise, he stacks up in that top 5. The reason why you're talking about him in some mocks still being second round, but being a guy in the teens and in some other mocks, he's being talked that way because of the injury history. It's not the skill. The skills say he's a top 5 quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
top 5 pick in this draft.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris asked who's the best fit for Payton. I think it's Drake May, but Penix is damn close because he's a special arm talent. And Mase, I could make the argument that the shoulders are more of a concern medically than the knees. Not that the knees
I
aren't,
think so.
but I think for the way he plays, because he can do I don't want to say Tom Brady, but he does the little Brady, like just subtle,
Yeah.
like little movement working within the confines of a phone booth. Do the kids know what a phone booth is, Mase? When's the last time you
No.
saw a payphone?
If you go to London, you still see them, but they're basically there so tourists can get their pictures taken with them, right?
Okay,
Nobody
right.
really uses them in London. But yeah, like we've seen, like Dan Marino and Ben Roethlisberger were bigger quarterbacks, but they knew how to take the step up, the step back, the side step. They had feel. Marino in particular played his entire career on a bulky knee, and it didn't matter. He was a very good pocket passer, and he could step away from the rush, and he could make all the throws. I think that's why there's less of a concern about the ACLs with Michael Penix Jr. because he is a pocket passer first. He's not going to take off and dash for the end zone and lay out to the pylon and score like he did way back early in his college career at Indiana, but he's got enough mobility to be able to step away from the rush, feel the rush, get away from it. So I do agree. Probably the shoulders are the bigger concerns right now.
Okay. Mase, we got to get you to Vegas. Any final thoughts for today's show before you pack up and head on out?
Final thoughts? I don't know. Should I do the Jerry Springer thing? Take care of yourself and each other. Okay. I'll give you a final thought.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of heavy debate in the next few months over quarterback prospects. My advice to Broncos country: don't let this divide y'all. Don't let it get ugly. Respect each other's opinions on Penix, Nix, Daniels, McCarthy. We're going to bring in Michael Pratt from Tulane, Sam Hartman from Notre Dame, whoever else we bring into the conversation. Let's just try to be respectful. Keep it on the level. Take care of yourself and each other.
I like that. Mace's final thoughts. And I thought you were just talking about 2024, not even just about football. Anyway, he's Andrew.
I'll have final thoughts about 2024 Monday, I think.
Okay.
Because we're not done yet. We got 60 more minutes of football left.
Well,
or maybe more than that if it goes overtime. Wouldn't that be funny? Overtime in a meaningless season-ending game.
Right. In Las Vegas. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mase Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. We appreciate you all. We're growing our YouTube channel, so please help us out. You guys have done tremendous work. Please keep it up. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell
so you never
miss a vid. Do the finger wag like the Kimbe. No. We're here for you. And earlier in the chat, someone asked, are you guys going to be broadcasting from this? Yep. From the Senior Bowl, from the Shrine Bowl. We may have to maneuver with practices, but you're going to get a lot. So.
Yeah, we may not be quite on schedule some of those days, but we'd rather, we're going to bring you plenty of stuff. So,
oh yeah.
As Bart Scott would say, can't wait.
All right. He's Mase. I'm C's. OBT is BFD. Everyone out there, stay tuned and stay frosty.